Good morning. It is Tuesday, November 5th, also election day. Excuse my hair. I did shower before the stream for once. I showered at 4:45, but I did not do anything with my hair yet. I just tied it up. And I just put my pajamas back on. I hope everybody is having a beautiful start to the day. It is early. It is still dark outside. That's okay. I don't know if I like it getting dark so early. Oh my God. Look at all that gray. I need to dye my hair. Dye it soon. I'm not ready to look like that. No, I look like the mom from Poltergeist. And I just aged myself there too. Anyway. I appreciate y'all being here so early. Amanda, Melissa, Silly Pick, Bonnie Bailey, Tash, Missy. Love you all. All right. So let's get into the shit show. So the first story I have is coming out of San Antonio, and then we're going to move into Harris County, have some stories coming out of Seattle, all over the world today, actually. I have a few international stories, stuff coming out of Australia, South Africa. You know, the really sad thing about South Africa is that it's really hard to find news clips that aren't just absolutely disturbing, because I had saved one the other day and then I watched it beforehand, and thank God, because I don't even even with the stuff that I share, I don't even know if I'm comfortable sharing some of those clips here. So anyway, all right, so we're moving to San Antonio. Two San Antonio teenagers going to court in juvenile court for two separate murder cases. We keep talking about these younger kids, teenagers involved in violent crime. And so we see an example of that here.
Two teenagers charged in separate murders went before a judge in juvenile court today. KENS 5 reporter Sue Kalberg was there when the judge tossed one family member out of the courtroom during a tense exchange.
On a crowded juvenile docket, two separate murder cases, one 14-year-old, one 16-year-old, two families who came to plead for a second chance.
Today would have been victim Jason Pena's 20th birthday, but instead of a celebration, his accused killer appeared before juvenile judge William Cruz Shaw, answering to a murder charge. Police say the victim was shot at a wireless store on West Hildebrand, September 2nd.
This is his first referral.
The 16-year-old accused of pulling the trigger, they say, has never been in trouble before this shooting, where one died and another victim survived.
One for murder, one for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
His family promised close supervision, and the apologetic teen told the judge he would behave if released.
Anything that, any condition even that you could give me, I'd much prefer.
Next up, a 14-year-old arrested after an October 10th shooting on San Carlos Street. The boy is accused of killing a 16-year-old neighbor. Prosecutors say this teen is already on probation, has a previous charge of unlawfully carrying a weapon, and has been causing trouble while locked up.
He became combative, started yelling profanities.
The teen's attorney said he has supportive family members, but when given a chance to speak, one relative said she didn't like the judge's tone.
That comment seems because...
No, I'm proving a point. That he has support and he's still here. That's my point.
The circumstances
okay, you know what?
Different.
Gotta go.
While the teen apologized for his behavior, the judge ruled his troublesome history is just too much to ignore. Both teens were ordered detained. They will be back here in 10 business days. At the Juvenile Justice Center, Sue Kalberg, KENS 5.
And that's exactly why the kids are there. I don't like the judge's tone. Excuse you? It's a judge. There's a reason why those kids are on probation for violent crime already before they murdered somebody. A 14-year-old murdered somebody. A 16-year-old murdered somebody. These are not petty little crimes. Oh, I promise I'll behave. Well, you had a chance before and you haven't been behaving. And then the 16-year-old especially, no. Sit your little asses in jail. Y'all need to learn something. See, when it comes to reform, I do think that these kids need to go in some sort of program or something like that. I'm not saying throw these children away. I do believe in some reform, but I do think that some people after a certain point are past reform. But a 14 and 16-year-old, I think that they need to be in some program or something until they're older, especially the 16-year-old, because he's obviously had issues and his family is not helping. So this one, the next story is coming out of Harris County. So this one, the gunman is still on the run. So sharing this to hopefully somebody knows something. Remember that you can always call Crime Stoppers. It's anonymous. You can get an award. Reward. Did I say reward or award? Whatever. You can get money.
Murdered over dumped trash. The shooter remains on the run more than a month after a beloved landscaper was gunned down at a gas station.
Investigators are searching for 27-year-old Emron Davis. He's accused of killing 32-year-old Bradwick Kirkendall at the Swift gas station off Hillcroft and Airport Boulevard on October 1st. Corley Peel spoke with his family, but she also spoke with the Davis's mother about her son being on the run. Corley?
Daniela, I had a brief phone call with Davis's mother. She says she does not know where her son is, but she says this is a loss for both families. I spoke with Kirkendall's family, and they say it is unnerving knowing that Davis is still on the run, and they are hoping for justice.
Yeah, I just wish this never happened.
A beloved landscaper's mother and sisters still in disbelief after Bradwick Kirkendall was shot and killed at this gas station on October 1st.
Bradwick is a very well-respected person. He always loved to help people. He's missed by his family, his friends, his kids. We just miss him so dearly.
Emron Davis is charged with Kirkendall's murder, but remains on the run. Surveillance video shows Kirkendall walking away from his landscape truck and into the store near Hillcroft and Airport Drive. Davis is believed to be in the red car and drives by Kirkendall, who is seen running from the store and back to his truck. The red car drives by his truck, where Davis is believed to shoot out the window, striking Kirkendall multiple times, killing him. Investigators say Davis followed Kirkendall to the gas station after the two got into an argument, after police say Kirkendall was accused of illegally dumping trash not far from Davis's home.
Well, I don't think he should have lost his life on that, behind simple trash.
More Kirkendall's family doesn't know Davis, but they have a message.
Turn yourself in, because at the end of the day, you're going to be caught regardless.
Now, Davis is charged with murder and aggravated assault. Those with any information about where he is are asked to call HPD or Crime Stoppers. There is an up to $5,000 reward for any information that can lead to an arrest, and you can remain completely anonymous. And we have all of that information at click2houston.com.
I mean, hopefully they get caught. Harris County has so many fugitives, like, and not just a little bit, like a lot, like hundreds of, and just murder fugitives. There's thousands of fugitives, but hundreds of those wanted for homicide. So I hope they're able to catch him, and hopefully he's one of the ones that hasn't left the area, because sometimes that happens. They'll just sit. Dude, my cat is like having an existential crisis right now. I don't know what her problem is. She is screaming. Oh, poor thing. I wish you guys could hear her. So yeah, I do hope that they find that guy. It's not going to bring their loved one back, and it's stupid. We're killing each other over stupid arguments. Good morning, Lisa. Still in your other username. So moving to Indianapolis, a new trial is underway uh, for a man that is accused of killing 6 of his family members. I'm not sure if any of you all have heard about this previously, but this man is accused of killing 6 of his family members.
So now to the opening statements in court today for the Indianapolis man who's accused of shooting and killing nearly all his family. Raymond Childs III tonight is accused of killing his parents, his 13-year-old sister, 18-year-old brother, and his brother's 19-year-old pregnant girlfriend. Our Logan Gay joins us in the newsroom tonight with what we heard in court today. Logan?
Scott Childs was tried for the murder earlier this year, but the judge declared a mistrial over something that was said during witness testimony. Now attorneys are back in court, again combing through the details from that early morning back in 2021. Raymond Childs III sat in court once again, listening to the prosecutor and his defense attorney lay out the gruesome details of his family's murder. It happened in the early morning hours back in January 2021. The prosecution says the shooting started upstairs.
He shot his brother once in the back of the head as he was watching television. Next to Elijah in bed was Elijah's girlfriend, Kiara Hawkins. The defendant shot her once through her right ear.
Kiara was 9 months pregnant at the time. The prosecution says Child's 13-year-old sister died next.
He shot her once in the chest and left her for dead on the floor of her bedroom.
Then the prosecution says Childs III went to the basement where his parents were and allegedly killed them too.
I love you, Raymond. Were the last words of Raymond Childs II.
And the prosecution says Childs didn't know it, but his younger brother was also in the basement at the time of the shooting.
He watched as his brother went into the basement. He heard the brief struggle. He heard his father's last words, and he heard the gunshots.
The prosecution team says the younger brother escaped the house but was allegedly chased down the street and shot. Officers say they talked to the younger brother before he went into surgery and asked him who fired the shot. Investigators say the teenager told them.
My brother, Raymond Ronald Lee Childs III.
But Childs III defense team says he was not at the house that night. They say he was at his girlfriend's house after being kicked out by his dad. And they say 2 guns were used, suggesting 2 shooters. They allege Childs III is in court because of a misguided investigation and misidentification.
First, when he talked to the officers, he said he couldn't be sure who the perpetrator was. He also used the word they when referencing the shooters. And he couldn't be sure that he saw his brother with a gun that night. Both weapons were used upstairs and both weapons were used downstairs, inconsistent with there being just one shooter. You'll also see no physical evidence tying Raymond Childs III to those weapons. No fingerprints, no DNA.
Childs faces a maximum sentence of life in prison without parole if convicted.
Logan, thanks so much.
A tense moment inside Kitsap
Hold on.
County.
We're not ready for that story, YouTube. Calm down. Yeah, that is a very sad story. Obviously, there's... Oh, hold on. Obviously, there's no known motive, especially if they're trying to say someone else did it. I don't know what's going on. I feel like family annihilation is upticked. I would have to look at some statistics to make sure because my feelings don't matter. Facts are what matters. But I feel like we've definitely gotten more violent as humans, and family violence, domestic violence, all that stuff has definitely upticked. Yeah, I'm going to look into that. So in Seattle, the cameras caught a man accused of murdering his little brothers trying to escape court.
A tense moment inside Kitsap County courtroom. Now, this afternoon, where double murder suspect Seth South tried to get away from deputies, he was quickly stopped, as you saw there. South is accused of stabbing his two half-brothers to death inside their home in Poulsbo on Wednesday.
Fox 13's Dave Detling went to the home where they live. And Dave, this all started when South called 911.
You're absolutely right. This case all started when Kitsap County Sheriff's deputies responded to that family's home after that 911 call was placed. And we want to warn viewers that details in this case are disturbing. Outside this Poulsbo home on Scandia Road, neighbors dropped off flowers and cards for the family impacted by Wednesday's double murder of two teen brothers.
Keep your hands out the window. If you reach in that car, I'm going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Their accused killer, half-brother, 23-year-old Seth South, who lived in the home with the victims. Pierce County Sheriff's deputies' body cam video showing his takedown Wednesday night. Investigators believe South may have been trying to get to Missouri to kill another one of his brothers.
Step out. Get on the ground. On the ground, on the ground, on the ground. Okay.
Stay right there. Less than 24 hours later, South appeared before a judge in handcuffs, where lawyers asked for a mental competency evaluation. The prosecution stating the 23-year-old was a risk to himself and others.
The defendant, for the reasons stated, is an extreme risk of murder to another brother that is at large in our community.
The motive behind the alleged killings are still unknown. Documents obtained by Fox 13 state South was the one who called 911 to report the deaths, but claimed one of the victims slit their own throat. But probable cause documents tell a different story. Documents detail a phone conversation between South and a family member. That family member told investigators South admitted he killed two people, but didn't say who. There was also blood found in his truck.
Mission gets accomplished.
During Thursday's court appearance, South attempted to make multiple comments. He even tried walking away before correction officers grabbed him, keeping him in place. And South is being evaluated at a nearby hospital for that mental health exam. He is being held without bail.
I mean, he didn't really try to leave. He just was like, oh, I'm going to try to go this way. It's not like he was running. He barely tried to leave. So maybe that's something. Man accused of murdering little brothers. Let me see if there's any updates on that. So I looked up the other one that I just showed, the one out of Indianapolis. He was actually found guilty, but he was found guilty not that long ago. However, the motive for slaughtering his whole family was because he was 17 at the time, and they argued about him staying out past curfew. He was arguing with his family about staying out past curfew at 17 years old and killed his whole family over it. I don't even know. I can't even say anything about that. But this one, let's see. Seth South is his name. I mean, I would assume that this would have to be, I don't see anything recent. The last update I see is on the 17th. And it happened on the 9th. And they were just teenagers. I don't see any motive, I would assume. I mean, there's really what could the kids have possibly have? So it looks like the brothers had been struggling with mental health issues. He had disappeared a few days before and was doing some weird behavior. I don't know what the hell is going on. Good morning, Music Man. Yeah, sneak out of the house like a normal kid. So, fun fact, I never snuck out, but my house, the way that my house was set up, if you came in the front door and went to the right, there was the formal living room and dining room, and then my parents' room. And if you went to the left, there was the kitchen, the family room, and then you go down the hall, guest room, bathroom, my room. So I would just sneak my friends in and go hang out in my room because I was too scared to sneak out. But I only got caught once. And I tried to convince my mom that she said my friends could come over. And not a whole lot, yeah. And I don't think my mom wanted to argue with me that day. But anyway, yeah, the two horrible situations, people killing their own family members. I don't understand what the hell. I don't know if statistics like this are tracked, family annihilations and things like that, but I would definitely want to look into it because, like I said, I feel like there's been an uptick. I know that domestic violence is up. And speaking of violence, y'all know how I feel about some judges and their decisions when it comes to bail and bond and, guilty and the sentences and stuff like that. And even as upset as I get, I would never condone violence against a judge. There is a Seattle judge that is getting death threats after some of his controversial decisions. So I do not condone that behavior. I understand the frustration, but please don't, do death threats on any judge that I ever speak out against. Please don't. Just, write them a firm letter or something like that. Don't threaten them, please.
Well, now a murder case that gives a snapshot of what's going on in many courtrooms in our area on a regular basis. Judges setting low bails on dangerous suspects. It happened after a man was accused of stabbing a handyman to death with a butcher knife in Renton. And then a different judge in the same case expressed empathy for the suspect's family, not the victim. The whole thing has many people upset, including the Renton police chief. This is video from the crime scene showing 20-year-old Kashawn Jimerson hitting 65-year-old Michael Gray from behind with a broom handle. The video shows Gray then following him back into the apartment. And that's when detectives say Jimerson pulled out a butcher knife and stabbed Gray in the back, killing him. According to court documents, Jimerson called 911 after the crime and confessed. Judge Michelle Gelson, who you saw there, set his bail at $50,000. And 27 hours after he was taken into custody, he was released without electronic home monitoring. The Renton police chief demanded answers, asking why Judge Gelson granted such a low bail. During Jimerson's court appearance in front of Superior Court Judge Johanna Bender, Jimerson's mom wanted to address the court, asking that the media not show his face in fear of what she called vigilante justice. That's when Judge Bender expressed empathy for Jimerson's family.
This hearing isn't about me, but I will share with you that I often get death threats based on the decisions that I make, which is equally frustrating to me because I'm trying to do my job and it should not be the responsibility of any member of the public to threaten my life because I am trying to uphold the law. So I am very empathetic to the situation that the family finds themselves in, having experienced it myself. And I understand personally how very frightening and disrupting it is, all the more so when you are also navigating this incredibly traumatic time in your family. I'm just doing my job. You're dealing with a crisis. That's a huge difference and one for which I am very empathetic. I will also take this opportunity to editorialize that I hope that the press continues to take seriously their obligation to tell the stories of what happens in our courtroom in a fair and unbiased way and takes every reasonable editorial action to not stir up public sentiment for revenge.
Well, ultimately, Judge Bender allowed our cameras to show Jimerson's face in court, and she increased his bail to $500,000. But let's talk about those previous decisions. Back in July, we told you Judge Bender set bail at $50,000 for the man accused of shooting a grandmother multiple times at an ATM right in front of her granddaughter. The woman, who only wanted to be called Tina, was outraged with the decision.
I should have the right to have the peace of mind knowing that they're locked up. And I don't have that. I can guarantee you my medical bills far exceed that amount of money.
Then, in February, the accused accomplice in a double murder had his bail dropped by Judge Bender from $1 million to $20,000. Joshua Jones was accused of dumping the bodies of Robert Riley and Ashley Williams in Maple Valley. When Williams' family found out about Judge Bender's decision, they were furious.
Nobody is safe.
you know, if he's out. And $20,000 bail is not good enough to protect people.
So in this latest case involving the Renton homicide, Judge Bender did not have a single word to say for the victim or any of the victim's loved ones. Her only comments were for herself and the accused killer and his mom.
Crime alert, police arresting a man.
Yeah, they showed a different judge in the beginning and then went on with this judge for some reason. So yeah, I don't agree with $20,000 bond when it comes to multiple homicides, but here's the thing. It is everybody's constitutional right for bond. Everybody, regardless of the crime. Innocent until proven guilty. Am I a fan of these things? Not necessarily, not in cases like that. Sometimes judges can use discretion to deny bond, but depending on the state, it could only be denied for like 90 days or whatever. I do think that judge is a little too sympathetic to the suspect. I understand where she's coming from with the suspect's family not wanting to have issues, but also consider the victim's family. I'm not a fan of judges that are more sympathetic to the suspects than they are the victims. Definitely not a fan of that at all. I mean, we have a judge in Harris County that is against the death penalty and then took a death row inmate and secretly got him an MRI and all this stuff, trying to do it off the books. It's you're supposed to be impartial when it comes to being a judge, but unfortunately, that's not really what happens. Now, depending on your state and your state laws, if you want this to change, you may have to get a law changed. In Texas, we tried to get a law changed where judges could use more discretion when it comes to bond, like deny bond in certain cases, depending on their criminal history and stuff like that. And we were not able to get that passed. So if things like this are upsetting and you want to get them changed, sometimes judges can only do what they can, the law allows them to do. The $20,000 bond, she could have done better with that. 1,000%. Wasn't a fan of the stuff that she said, but if you want things changed, definitely get in touch with your representative, your senator. Try to get this stuff brought up when it comes to legislation when that comes up. So a Dallas singer was shot while on stage signing autographs. And how somebody got a gun into where they were performing, I don't know. Most places have metal detectors and stuff like that. But yeah, she was shot on stage. And this happened, I think, just last night.
Security changes are going to be made at a Dallas performance venue after police say someone shot a singer on stage right after her concert ended. The victim is recovering tonight. This happened in downtown Dallas at the Black Academy of Arts and Letters, right next to the K. Bailey Hutchison Convention Center. WFAA's Sydney Persing spoke with the director of that venue tonight.
An exact motive is still not known tonight, but law enforcement sources tell us the shooter appeared to have mental health issues. What we do know is that she opened fire moments after a performance here ended, taking aim at one of the singers on stage. This is video of 3 women performing together here at the Dallas Black Academy of Arts and Letters just last night. When their show was over just before 6 p.m., the women stayed on stage to sign autographs. That is when the shooter took out a gun and shot right at one of them, according to the Academy. Jada Thomas was identified as the victim. She remains in the hospital tonight in stable condition. The Academy's founder, Curtis King, said Jada has been performing here since she was just 10 years old. He told me he is angry and distraught, confused and disappointed, but does not want one person's actions to ruin the hard work of his young artists.
I'm not saying we should not be cognizant of hatred and people like that, but we cannot walk in our life continuing to live in fear, because that's not the kind of person that Jada Thomas is. She's not a person that's going to allow to live in fear. And she said one thing today. She says, "Is this going to affect my singing?" No, it's not. She will still sing, and she will soar.
And I met Mr. King outside of Baylor. He's been staying with Jada and said she is showing signs of good progress. Meanwhile, he said he's already been working on rolling out a new safety plan here at the academy. He said he's been exploring buying metal detectors and also reducing the amount of points of entry to the building. Of course, there's still a lot we don't know about this story. As we learn more, we will be sure to update you on air and on WFA.com.
I hope she recovers quickly. That's from what I read about the suspect in this is that she thought that the performer had been harassing her, and definitely somebody that was struggling with mental illness. So going back to some of the Bond stuff with the conversation in the chat, so the problem is also the reason why bonds have shifted so far is because there's been people in prison, jail, like this person in Rikers for 3 years for $1,000 bond for stealing a book bag. That's drastically different than somebody murdering multiple people. I do agree that bond laws need to change when it comes to that nonviolent crime. In Texas, especially in Harris County, if it's a nonviolent crime, and it's generally, if it's a misdemeanor, they get PR bond. They don't have to pay bond. But some of these things that they generally apply to these nonviolent crimes are being applied to some of these more violent crimes. So we were being way too harsh, and then we've swung too far the other way where we need to be in the middle, and every person, every case is different. We definitely need to look at the situation. Are they a danger? Do they have a history, and that stuff's not being done. Sometimes when bond is set, the judges don't even know the full history on the person because they haven't done a full county check. So it's crazy. Let's see, let me move this one. We're gonna move some of this because I don't have time for all of it. So the takeovers, I've been sharing takeovers a lot. There was somebody that was killed recently in a California takeover, which it's so dangerous. There's people in the middle and there's people doing donuts, and you're trusting this person to not lose control. But the person that was a suspect in the crash has now been arrested. And yeah, that's in California.
A 20-year-old Torrance man is charged with felony hit and run for allegedly hitting two teenagers during an illegal street takeover. The chaotic sideshow happened at 2 a.m. on Friday in Anaheim. At one point, the driver of a Dodge Charger veered into the crowd, hitting several bystanders, trapping two of them under the car. Police say the driver, 20-year-old Hassan Ali, got out of the car and ran while others in the crowd tried to lift the car off the injured teens. The two 19-year-old victims were hospitalized with several broken bones.
Oh, they didn't.
And developing now, there's a new push.
I thought somebody died. Maybe it was a different one because I saw a video. Let me see. Did somebody? No, they didn't die. People on the internet were lying. Oh, wait, no. It says that killed, or is this a different one? There's so many takeovers. When is this one? When did this one happen? A date on this article would be fantastic, but I do not see a date. That's weird. But I'm sure it happens all the time. Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe last year. So that's not those. So I am thankful that the people that I thought died did not die because the internet lied. Shocking. So YNW Melly back in the news again. He has filed lawsuit saying that his rights have been violated and is demanding immediate release. This is Broward County.
And developing now, there's a new push to get rapper YNW Melly out of jail. He's currently awaiting retrial for the murder of 2 childhood friends, but a new lawsuit alleges he's being held in inhumane conditions. Local 10's Andrew Perez, live at the jail in Fort Lauderdale, to explain this one. Andrew.
Yeah, we have it right here. This is a 12-page complaint. It's against BSO and the sheriff. Melly's family telling us they haven't spoken to him in years.
They're trying to break him down and get a result that they cannot get in the court system.
Attorney Michael Pizzi with the family at his side announcing a lawsuit filed asking a federal judge to order the immediate release of rapper YNW Melly.
I was not allowed to sit down with him the same as I've sat down with all of my clients over 30 years. I was not allowed to show him documents, to have a private conversation. I was put behind the glass where I had to yell for him to hear me.
He's been in jail since February 2019. The suit alleging his constitutional rights are being violated, restrictions interfering with his attorneys trying to help him, and debilitating isolation. He hasn't seen or spoken to his family in several years.
The last time I heard my son's voice on the phone was in 2022. Some days I don't know if he's alive in there. I don't know if something's happened to him in there.
The rapper, whose real name is Jamel Demons, is accused of murdering Chris Thomas and Anthony Williams, childhood friends. It was after a late-night recording session and allegedly made to look like a drive-by shooting. The first double murder trial ended last summer in a mistrial. The twists and turns that followed throughout included allegations of witness tampering, passing messages, and alleged plans to escape that were investigated. BSO only saying it does not generally comment on pending litigation. However, the jail does not utilize solitary confinement. Mr. Demons has been placed on administrative segregation, an alternate living assignment for someone who poses a serious threat. So what happens now is the federal judge is going to review all of this and decide whether or not the state has to answer for itself, basically, and explain why all these restrictions have been put in place. Meanwhile, that retrial, it has been set for September of next year.
Oh.
That's the latest here outside the jail in Fort Lauderdale.
September of next year. That's a long time. I'm assuming that they have him on communication restrictions because of the witness tampering and threats and stuff like that. That's what I'm assuming. Because he could pass. So they were having issues with him passing messages along and stuff like that. So that I understand. But maybe have more monitoring on him so he can at least talk to his family. I mean, he should be able to. It does sound like solitary. It does, but I'm curious what exactly that means. So we will see what happens with that trial in September, which is going to be a shit show for sure. Shit show for sure. All right, let's see. All right, so I got about 15 minutes left. All right. So 2 teenagers, again, teenagers, these damn kids. Yeah, they talked to him during the trial, right? I mean, I guess they're talking outside of that. She hasn't heard her son's voice. Maybe she meant like talking to her. I don't know. I didn't watch the trial. I have absolutely no idea. All I know is that it was an absolute shit show when it was being streamed. So you guys will have to fill me in. So 2 teenagers sentenced for a murder in Birmingham. What is this? The police made this. They followed the victim through Birmingham. The killers are seen walking through the crowds.
They sat down on one of the benches and were having a conversation around cricket. What he didn't realise at that point in time was that he'd been followed by a 15-year-old boy. And once him and his friend were sat down, that 15-year-old boy confronted Mohammed and suggested that he had been involved in a previous assault on the cousin of that 15-year-old boy. There is absolutely no evidence to suggest that that's the case. 15-year-old boy kept on pressurising him and accusing him to the point where Mohammed essentially told him to go away. And it was at that point that he pulled a knife out of his clothing and stabbed Mohammed sadly straight through the chest. The CCTV is horrific. This is a Saturday afternoon in the middle of Birmingham city centre. It's a very busy area, not only shoppers but tourists who just come to see that part of the city. And the fact that, a young man can be having that nice day out with his friend and then suddenly he's confronted by someone who's happy to carry a knife and then use a knife and stab him in the way that he was stabbed, it is just awful. Devastating impact on Mohammed's family. They have lost their son in the most horrific of circumstances. They thought he was safe in Birmingham. Like all families touched by this type of tragedy, they will say their life will never be the same again. They'll never see him grow up, get married, have children. And the void that has been left in their lives is unmeasurable.
I do appreciate that the West Midlands Police made that video. That's not something that you see very often from law enforcement. So this is the UK, not Birmingham, Alabama. This is the UK. They have a lot of cameras. So in the UK, we have a few stories from Australia. It looks like I moved the other story to another day when I said South Africa. So that one I have for another day. Yeah. So the next three stories are going to be Australia. So, we're seeing issues. This isn't just a specific United States issue. Violence is up. Teen violence is up all over the country. So we're seeing this in the UK. We're seeing it in Australia. And the proof is right here in the news. So there have been a lot of issues that happened on Halloween's. There was multiple shootings. There was a guy in San Antonio that was beat up outside of a Halloween party. And then even in Australia, a 20-year-old was shot. So just because they, have a ban on firearms doesn't mean that they don't have issues with gun violence. Knife violence is more popular, which we're going to get into that as well, because there was a machete attack.
Good evening. A gunman is on the run tonight after a deadly shooting in Melbourne's inner north outside a Halloween-themed rave party.
The 20-year-old victim was left for dead on a busy street, triggering violent scenes as rival groups traded blows in front of police.
Emotions tip over after a young man is shot and killed. Families say 20-year-old Pauchurch Bidong was shot and killed, today remembered as loving, caring and always putting others above himself.
Our priority is here to support the family who are impacted in this horrible situation, to bring those offenders to account.
Police rushed to Langford Street in North Melbourne at 3:15 this morning. The gunman already on the run, but dozens of young people remained, initially outnumbering officers in the volatile situation.
I want to go see your brother. Who is your brother? Sorry. You know who it is, bro.
It's a horrific incident. It's something that none of us wanted to experience. There is nothing to suggest there is an ongoing immediate risk to the community.
A Halloween-themed warehouse party had been underway just down the street. Investigators are trying to establish if the offender and victim had been inside or if they knew each other.
We know that there were a lot of people in the area at the time. Right, we urge those witnesses to reach out, to contact police.
Police flooded the area in North Melbourne throughout the day, grieving loved ones arriving at the scene, coming to terms with the loss.
Sorry, I had to burp. So not only is teen violence up, mental health issues are up, but like the morning feed said, there's no help anywhere. There is a shortage of beds, and they have gone down drastically. There are very few beds, or we don't have mental health asylums. We don't have mental health full on. We don't really have many full on facilities anymore. Most of the time, somebody's in crisis. They get taken to an emergency room. Somebody babysits them until there's an opening somewhere else. And most of the time, they're not even held for the amount of time that they're supposed to be. Very rarely is somebody actually committed, and if they have space at all. I watched something on that the other day, and they had a whole graph of like how down quickly it went once the doors were closed on asylums. All right, so now a DoorDash driver was attacked in Australia, except this one they had machetes.
A food delivery driver has been terrorised by a group of machete-wielding teens during a violent carjacking attempt in Melbourne's northwest. The victim turned the tables, chasing down his attackers, who tonight remain on the run.
4 thugs run, each swinging a machete, leaving their victim bleeding in the street from a deep gash to his hand. The group had just tried to carjack a DoorDash delivery driver's Honda in Melton around 7 last night. The 23-year-old victim's mate was in the car with him when the youths swarmed, snatching its keys from the ignition.
They were yelling and they were like banging.
Food had just been dropped to 15-year-old Cadence Hart, who saw the attack through her window.
I felt horrible that I couldn't even go out there and help, because if I did, I would have been hurt as well.
There was one kid who was filming the whole thing.
The group eventually gave up and ran.
All the kids nowadays, they keep it in their pants and then they pull it out and then stab.
Despite the danger, the victim and his mate chased the attackers for 300 metres and confronted them in a nearby court as residents watched on from their homes.
I was terrified.
They had a couple of swings and I thought, shit, this is fair income.
They were shouting at the pair.
I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. And then the other guy, let's go. And that's when they took off.
The driver ran to a nearby house for help, nursing his wound.
Quite deep. Really bloody.
What do you do? Like, someone's there bleeding and it's like, well, I can't administer first aid to the extent that he needed. So get him to somewhere that can.
They drove him to a medical centre. He was discharged from hospital today as police search for the attackers.
You can't even go out your house without being scared you'll be stabbed or killed. It's horrible.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
So I did find a presentation about the issues with mental health in the United States and how much it's changed and all that. So this came out in 2022, shared that, but we used to have the ability to care for over 500,000 people in mental health facilities, and now we only have the ability to care for maybe 40,000 across the whole United States. And this study was from 2022, so it's probably gone down. So mental health beds for children has also gone down. And there was issues with, COVID shutting stuff down and all that kind of stuff. So there's also so moving on to this case, this is from 2015. It is a cold case. There is a $1 million reward. Let me turn the sound on.
Police are hoping a $1 million reward will finally help crack the cold case murder of a woman in Sydney's West. Prabha Kumar was stabbed to death in Parramatta Park in 2015. Investigators now believe the attack was not random, and her husband in India is one person of interest.
This was the last time Prabha Arun Kumar was seen alive.
Walking home from Parramatta train station after a double shift, minutes later, she was dead.
It's been nearly 10 years and unfortunately the case still remains unsolved.
Prabha was on the phone to her husband in India when she was stabbed in the neck. She screamed out for help before the line dropped out. There was no robbery, no sexual assault, no obvious motive. But police now believe it wasn't random.
It appears that whoever was responsible for Prabha's death, it was an intentional act of violence.
Detectives hoping a $1 million reward will finally reveal who.
People would know something, would have heard something.
Days after the murder, Prabha's husband Arun Kumar made a public appeal for help.
My wife was the most caring and beautiful soul.
But today, police revealed he is under investigation despite living more than 9,000 kilometres away at the time of his wife's death.
He's still a person of interest, yes. We can't exclude him as a person of interest.
An inquest into Prabha's murder is scheduled to take place in March next year, marking 10 years since the attack. Her husband has been invited to give evidence. He is yet to respond. Police hope to make an arrest before the inquest begins, not giving up in their fight for justice for a woman killed while walking home from work. Taylor Aiken, 7 News.
Well, I hope that $1 million reward helps. I mean, unless the husband arranged it, I don't see how he would have anything to do with it because he was literally not there. So moving on to my last couple stories. So this is in Vancouver, so moving to Canada. So there was a Vancouver mall shooting, but a teenager that worked at an escape room was able to get people to safety. So this kid, we've talked about all these teenagers causing issues. This kid was a hero. So we definitely want to acknowledge that.
We begin with the latest on the deadly shooting inside the Vancouver Mall during a trick-or-treat event. A warning, new video shows the chaos following that shooting. Some may find it hard to watch. Our Alma McCarty spoke tonight with one of the mall employees who helped families get to safety.
Before parts of the Vancouver Mall turned into a crime scene. This was the scene Thursday. Dozens of families going store to store, trick-or-treating for candy Halloween night.
We figured it was safer than the neighborhood.
It was honestly quite sad. Just there were so many kids in the mall.
And 16-year-old Bronwyn Cruden was here, working at her family's escape room. The sound of gunfire captured on cameras inside the business.
You see where I self-hesitate for way longer than I feel I should have, but I immediately locked the door because I've been in this situation before.
That time, she says, they sheltered in place when someone brought a gun to the mall. But Thursday's incident felt more chaotic.
I actually went back up to the front and unlocked the door for people to come in, a family. They had 5 kids with them. Like one of them, the dad was holding a baby and one of the kids was just asking like, what's happening? What's going on? And the mom was like, don't worry about it. Like, we just need to get out. Like, we'll worry about it later.
Cell phone video from the food court shows first responders tending to one of the victims. His crime tape surrounds empty tables. Vancouver police called it a targeted attack, with the suspect wearing a Halloween-type mask, shooting and killing an adult male in this part of the mall. The 2 other men, 30 and 40 years old, who were injured, were not the intended targets, but instead just happened to be nearby.
How terrible, like that must have been for their kids to watch and see that, and how many kids were at the mall that just like that was their first Halloween. They'll be traumatized for like the rest of their lives.
Vancouver police are still looking for the shooter tonight and haven't released any more details about them, nor have they identified the victim. Meantime, Cruden and her family say they're donating 100% of their proceeds over the next week to the victims and their families. John?
Such bravery shown by that teenager.
Yes. Brave kid. Very sad that she's been there before. Like, no 16-year-old should say, I've been there before. I know what to do with the mall shooting. And even in Canada, it's everywhere. violence is everywhere, but, like Mr. Rogers, I think it was Mr. Rogers that said, look for the helpers. There's the helper. So, my favorite part of the show.
Здравствуйте, Елена. Ну, действительно.
Of course, animals in the news. So I have a couple videos. So this was a dog in Russia interrupting a report, and then another video is going to go on right after that, just because this one's 30 seconds.
Здравствуйте, Елена. Ну, действительно, в столичный регион пришла весна. Столбики термометров будут показывать на этой неделе до 8 плюс 9 градусов. Стоять! Иди сюда! Эй, стой! Стой! Стоять!
Ну, судя по всему, связь с нашим корреспондентом прервала. Так, Надежда, вы меня слышите?
Елена, ну, как я и сказала, погода действительно отличная. Подходит для прогулок с вашими собаками. Ну, а на этом у меня все.
Dog's innocent. Clearly, that microphone looks like a toy. Totally not the dog's
Sometimes
fault.
you set out to find a story, and sometimes the story just finds you. In this case, that's exactly what happened. Turned out to be one of our most watched videos ever. 13 million hits on our Fox 5 YouTube channel and counting.
All right. When a wayward puppy crashed Bob Barner's live shot in Leesburg. Check it out.
Who have ventured out because they have to. Uh-oh, this dog. I hope they don't realize this dog just ran out here. Hey, come here. Come here. I don't see an owner. Okay. Hi there. I'll keep an eye on her. Anyway, hello. What do you know? We don't want to forget the people we talked to earlier. I want to get to know this dog. Have ventured out because they have to. Uh-oh, this dog. I hope.
So this all happened during some of our coverage that we had, and the pup just ran off and escaped from where it was, and the rest was history. Bob, of course, picking up the adorable pooch. And Bob, we've been wondering ever since then, what's been happening? We see you every day for the last 2 years, but what's up with little Pierogi?
I know, that's the shame of it all. You see me, I've, for like the last 2 years, said sometime I got to go back and see Pierogi. And we've done stories in Leesburg over the last couple of years. The timing just hasn't been right. One time I went and I could see him in the window, but nobody was home. That was fun. It was adorable. This week we went back to Leesburg again. I'm not sure Pierogi was as excited as I was, but this is something I've wanted to do for 2 years now. To go back to Leesburg and meet the puppy that crashed my live shot that winter day 2 years ago.
Hello there.
Hello.
Hi, Sarah. Nice to meet you.
Hello, come here. Come here. Look at your body wiggle.
Look, it's Uncle Bob.
It was February 19th, 2021. Hey, we heard VDOT tell us this morning once, we were in Northern Virginia that morning telling you about the wintry weather that had left an icy mess across our region. And it's not as icy as it is slippery right now, but you got to be careful. When out of the blue, we were interrupted by a runaway puppy named Pierogi. Ventured out because they have to. Uh-oh, this dog. I hope they don't realize this dog just ran out here. Pierogi's owner, who came to her rescue that morning, is Sarah Wallet. Here you go.
I'm so sorry.
No, are you okay? Did she really just run out?
Yes, she just jumped through the gate.
She got through the gate. She wanted to see us.
Saw her opportunity to get on camera, and she saw you and was like, this is great.
How did that happen? You say she got out through the gate?
Yeah, we have a fully fenced in backyard. At that point, really was only letting her out on the leash, but because it had just snowed, she was excited to play in the snow. And then next thing I know, she went through the wrought iron fence, and I was just left there with a frozen gate that I couldn't open. And I saw that you had picked her up at that point, so I was like, okay. And I had to run back through the house. And yeah, I was like, I almost fell down the driveway, like coming out. I was like, oh, and then yeah, I was just like, oh, I hope I didn't mess up their shot. I hope they'll cut that out. And then that wasn't the case.
After our chance meeting, Fox 5 posted the encounter on YouTube, and it blew up. Pierogi instantly becoming a superstar. Sarah and I just along for the ride.
My husband's brother is like a professor, and someone showed him the clip and was like, I think that's Sarah and her dog. Yeah, people were texting me that like they're getting news alerts on their phone about it. I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was crazy.
Pierogi is a mixed breed, a rescue dog, about 2.5 years old now.
Even if you leave the house for 10 minutes and you come home, she runs down the stairs and she jumps like and presses her face against like the glass and just smiles and has a tail wag. And yeah, every time.
Sarah and her husband work from home. Their son, Nathaniel, is Pierogi's best friend.
He like tells everyone about it. He's like, yeah, we have a famous dog. And then he shows people the video. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's
like his art
hilarious.
teacher knows. I'm like, oh geez. So yeah, it was good for everyone.
So he knows and has shared it himself.
Oh yeah, he thinks it's like the coolest thing ever. I mean, it is just crazy that it like went so viral.
Forget the people we talked to earlier. I want to get to know. It was great to see Pierogi and Sarah again under more normal circumstances. A reunion I'll cherish, born of a chance encounter, a greeting I'll always remember.
I love that picture of the two of you
And
at the
Sarah
end.
says when they got Pierogi, when they got Pierogi, they thought he was going to maybe be 60 pounds. She is only about 20 pounds, and I could actually hold her, even though she's kind of full grown now.
Absolutely love it. Uncle Bob to the rescue once again. It's great. And how about it snowed 2 years ago?
I
on
know,
this day, right?
I know. That's crazy, right? And we haven't seen anything since then.
Feels like it might have been the last time that it snowed around here.
Yeah.
Bob, great story, great follow-up.
Yeah, adorable puppy. It turned into a cute little wiggly dog. All right, y'all. That is going to be it for today. I need to go get ready for work myself. I hope everybody has had a good start to the day. And if you are able to vote and you haven't voted yet, today's the day. It's election day. So make sure to make time. All right, guys. I hope that you have a beautiful day. It is only Tuesday. Still got a lot left in the week. Anyway, I appreciate y'all being here. I love you, and I will see you next time. Bye, y'all.